Hello. Welcome to the Crafty Chemist. Getting things set up here. How are you doing? Say hi if you're joining. Say hi if you are watching the replay. I'm going to share this to the group now. I can't see if you pop on because the camera is above my head today, so please comment so I know you're here because I won't see your name popping up. Oh. Are we having trouble? Hey, Michelle. I'm going to turn off the Wi-Fi. Hopefully that'll help. Okay, hopefully that will help. Our Wi-Fi, I don't know why, but I can't go live very well with the Wi-Fi. So hopefully you're still on and you can see me. I'm sharing it now. Tell me what you're up to on this Sunday. I went to the grocery store like I normally do, picked up some groceries. Okay, that's shared now to the group. Hey, Vicki. Hi, Mom. Hi, Julie. Yes, I got the groceries put away. Darcy helped me. He loves to help me with the groceries. It's quite an ordeal to go to the grocery store. Do you all still like sanitize all your packages? And we take stuff out of their original packages if we can and put them in baggies, and it's like a whole process. It takes basically all afternoon to go to the grocery store and then bring stuff in and then kind of process it all and then put it in the fridge. Yeah, it's quite the ordeal. And then we also went to the drive-in kind of car hop place for lunch, and it was the first time for the season. They just opened, so we did that. So it's been a busy day. I mean, really, I haven't had time to sit down and prepare. I'm glad I had everything prepared yesterday. You don't do all that? Well, I think after we get the vaccine, we get both doses of the vaccine, I think I will let up a little bit on that. You know, I was mostly concerned about my mom and dad being exposed, so I think my dad's vaccine, his second dose is on Saturday, and I think my mom's is on Sunday, so they will be fully vaccinated. Yeah, I mean, I can understand if you work at the hospital, you would want to wipe everything off. And I do try to not wear my clothes if I go someplace like that around the house. I'm going to start working the election next week, and I'll definitely, when I come home, I'll change right away. And I always wash my hands good and everything. But enough of that. Let's get started on the project today, because I know a lot of people are excited about the project. We are going to make these fun Z-fold cards. They're so fun and easy, and I thought they were perfect for this months of the year stamp set. So this is a stamp set I'm going to be featuring today, months of the year, and it's the April. You know, Close to My Heart is releasing a stamp set for each month of the year, and so you can have a whole scrapbook finished, you know, by the end of the year if you you know, you have stamps to do each month, you know, a layout for each month. And I have been designing a layout and posting it for everybody. March, I will be posting this week, and then April, I'll post in April. The reason I'm doing the April months of the year early, like in March, which I normally wouldn't do, but since Easter is that first Sunday, I wanted you to have time to make your Easter cards if you wanted to, you know, to make these for your Easter cards. So that's why I'm doing it a little bit early. So a little bit about me. I'm the crafty chemist, Maggie Workman. If you like any of the supplies that I use today, you can purchase them at thecraftychemist.closetomyheart.com. I go live through my Facebook business page, Crafty Chemist Designs, where I also post specials, I post samples, all those sorts of things on my business page. I also have a group, The Crafty Chemist Presents CTMH, and that's where we, you know, I post samples in there too, but then other people post their samples that they've created. And if you craft along with me today and make one of these, I hope that you'll post your card that you make. I have an Instagram, Crafty Chemist Designs, so I post some sample every day. And then I do have a blog called periodicallycrafty.blogspot.com. And my latest blog, I wrote about the Daisy Meadow collection, which is the paper that I'm featuring in this card here. So I write about everything that's available, the scrapbook workshop, the card workshop, all of the papers, the stamps, everything. So you can go there and look all about the Daisy Meadows collection. Okay, so enough of that. Let's get started with the project. And I'm going to try to make both of these. I do have most of the stuff stamped and cut out so that we can move along, but I want to do what I can with you so you can follow along. So the first thing is I'm going to make this base card, the one that's the Sundance. I use Sundance for this one. That's one of the colors for the Daisy Meadows collection. And this piece is 5.5 by 8.5. So basically it is the size of a regular A2 card, you know, just opened up. You can use a card base if you want to. You know, I have one right here. It's the same size. So you could use this and then just score this. If you wanted a white base, that's fine. But I like it on the colored base, and the reason is because you don't really open it up at all. So this is what you're seeing. So if it was white, it might be a little more boring. I don't know. Okay, so cut your piece 8.5 by 5.5. So I cut my piece, and here I'm using Peacock. This is another one of the colors for the Daisy Meadows collection. You can kind of see the peacock line running through there. So this is so 5.5 wide, 5.5, and 8.5 long. And I'm sorry, but I just can't find my other ruler that is opaque, that you know. So I know it's a little bit hard to see the numbers on here, but it's 8.5 by 5.5. Okay, so get that piece cut out. And then we're going to score it. And basically all we have to do is score it so that this piece flips back on itself. So what you're going to do is score it at 2 1/8 and then 4 1/4. So the 4 1/4 is to make, you know, the fold, the big fold, like you would be doing a regular card, right? Like that would make it the regular card. And then this fold is to fold this piece back. Hi, Jean. Okay, so let's do this one. So I'm gonna do the 4 1/4 first. And there we go, 4 1/4. Okay, and then the 2 1/8. And that's just half of the 4 1/4. So if you want to make it a different size, you just know the first score should be to fold the card in half, and then this score is, you know, half of however wide you have the card. So I'm going to make 2 1/8, and so 2 1/8. Let's review the eighths on here. So the big line right here is the quarter. So the eighth is that the medium line there. Okay, so that's the eighth. Okay, so I'm going to put right there, if you can see. And I will tell you, this rail trimmer, like this is the rail trimmer from Close to My Heart. It's a Fiskars brand. This scorer is very strong, so you don't want to push very hard. I know on my other Fiskars, the regular Fiskars, I used to have to go over it a few times to make sure that it scored, but this one you can't, or you will rip your paper. Okay, so that is the base card, and our paper is dark on one side and then a little bit lighter on the other side. I want the dark side to be out because that's really the only side you're going to see. The card doesn't close at all, so I want this side out. So I'm going to fold it this way. Look, my cutting wasn't exactly even, but that's okay. And then I'm going to fold it back this way on the fold. Okay, and you can burnish it with your bone folder, both of the seams there. Okay, so now you can see this is the part that's just going to go open and closed. Now on this one, we're going to make this piece here that attaches, and it's basically the same exact thing, except it's smaller. This is just 2 inches wide instead of the 5.5. So for this piece, you do a 2 inch by 8.5. Okay, so I've got the same peacock color, and it is 2 inches by 8.5. Okay, and then we score it. We're going to score it the same way, 2 1/8 and 4 1/4. Okay, so I'm going to start with the 4 1/4. And then do 2 1/8. Remember, the eighth is the medium size line. now this one is going to, we're going to turn it like 180 degrees so that the longer piece, the 4 1/4 piece, is to the left. Okay, and so this one we fold down, burnish it a little bit. Okay, and now you can see this piece needs a fold back. So then this piece is going to fold back. Okay, so that you can see where it gets its name Z-fold, because if you look at it, it kind of looks like a Z. Okay, and again, you want to think about what color you want to be on the outside. I picked the darker color to be on the outside. So, okay, so we got these pieces here. Now let's decorate. Let's decorate them. So this plaid paper that's covering it, let's talk about that. This piece here is 4 by 5 1/4. So it's kind of just like a regular card front size. So I have a piece here. And it's 4 inches wide and 5 1/4 this way. This is part of the Daisy Meadows collection, the plaid. The other side of this is this gingham. Another one of the options is they have this piece that has Easter eggs, and then the other side it has bunnies in a barrel with some flowers. So this is a second piece of the collection. And I have one of these started so you can see the kind of the difference. I will drop a link to those. But okay, so this one is the card front piece. And then these pieces here are, now this might be a little bit crazy, so sorry, but 1 7/8 by 5 1/4. And really 1 7/8 is just because you want it to be 1/4 of an inch smaller than the size of your panel. So just like these, right? Remember this, my solid Sundance on this side is really 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and so this is 4 by 5 1/4. Since this piece here, remember we cut it to be 2 1/8. If you want it to be 1/4 inch smaller, then you need to do 1 7/8, and then by 5 1/4 again. Okay. So let me show you how to do that one. This one I think is a little bit easier on the cutter. So so 7/8 is very close to 8/8, which would be on the 2, right? 1 8/8 would just be 2. So this one is 3/4, which is 6/8. And so it's this medium line here. So it's a medium line between 1 3/4 and the 2. Okay, so that medium size one between the 1 3/4 and the 2. Okay. So I have a piece cut here, and I'll show you where it should line up. You see how it's lining up there on the medium line between the 1 3/4 and the 2, and then it's 5 1/4, 5 1/4 this way. Okay, and you will need 2 of these for these 2. You could actually, if you wanted to, leave this one a different color if you wanted to make it solid, or if you were planning on maybe writing a sentiment or something, you could leave it blank. I like it to be the pattern paper. That's my preference. So that when you pull this out, you know, you still see the designs. Okay, so let's put these on to our card front. I thought the teal or the peacock would be a little bit easier to see. How is everybody following along? Is everybody able to follow along? Am I going too fast? Is anybody making one with me? So I just dropped the link to the Daisy Meadow paper collection and the coordinating cardstock so you can see all of the different colors. Vicky's, you're gonna make it later in the replay. Good. I know sometimes it's good to watch so you understand it and then you don't make a mistake. Well, I saw somebody do a similar card to this, and I was like, it's one of those things where I just have to know how it's done, right? It was the same thing with, remember the waterfall card? I'm like, I've got to figure out how that's done because it's so amazing. Well, same thing with this. I think it's because I'm a scientist, right? I'm a crafty chemist. And so I just have to know how these things are done. And so I watched several YouTube videos so that I knew what I was doing. And I took what I liked out of all of the ones that I watched and came up with this design. So I'm just attaching these. Oh good, Julie, you're making one. I can't wait to see what you're doing. Let me know if I'm going too fast, but it shouldn't be too bad. Okay, so now I've got the panel. You definitely want to put the design on before you attach this piece, right? Because then you obviously can't put it on once you do that. Okay, so now let's put the trim pieces on this one. So the trim pieces for this are, you need a 1 3/4 by 4. Okay, and that's the trim that's going to go on here. And again, it's just 1/4 inch smaller all the way around. And then this one is, these pieces are, it's 1 3/4 tall, because remember our piece is 2 inches tall, so I wanted it 1/4 inch smaller, so it's 1 3/4 tall. And then 1 7/8 wide, because again, that's half of my 4 1/4 with the 1/4 inch piece showing. So you'll need 2 of these. So you'll need 2 pieces that are 1 3/4 by 1 7/8, and then 1 piece that's this size. Okay, and I recommend it being a solid piece and a lighter solid piece. It doesn't have to be. I mean, this could be your design piece if you want, but if you're going to stamp on it at all or put any kinds of decorations on it, you want to kind of think about that. You don't want it to be too busy. But see here, I put Happy Easter on the front, so I wanted to make sure that there was a light color where the words would show. Okay, so let's see. I cut out a piece that was 1 3/4 by 4, and then I have the 2 pieces that are 1 3/4 by 1 7/8. Okay. And I debated whether I should put a glacier, because glacier is the lighter blue that's in here. I thought about doing a glacier, but I really like this Sundance, so I decided to do that. And I already stamped it on here because I will tell you, when I did this one, I had everything on there, and then I decided to stamp the Happy Easter. So I stamped this while it was, on these different layers. So I learned my lesson and stamp it ahead of time. So if there's anything, if you know that you're going to, stamp something directly onto here, these ones I fussy cut and taped on there. So, but if you're going to stamp right on there, you want to do that now. And then make sure that your pieces are all the same side, the same color, right? I'm using the darker side of the Sundance. And then attach it. And remember, when you attach the pieces, the long side is on the left, and then the two smaller pieces are going to be on the right, okay? So that you don't put it upside down. Okay, Michelle, you're going to make one later too? Good. I did post for you, for everybody, a cutting guide to make it easy. And I did think about doing a Cricut cut because I actually drew the cutting guide in Design Space, and so I thought, well, probably easy just to make the Design Space file. But they're all easy cuts, so I didn't bother trying to mess with that. Okay, so I'm just going to put these on here. And now all we have to do is attach it to our card base. Okay, and on mine, I put this an inch and a quarter up from the bottom of the base. Okay, not from the bottom of the trim piece, but the bottom of the Sundance there. But you could put it wherever, especially if you have some design that you're trying to go for and you need it to be in a different place. Okay, so this is a part where you just need to be a little bit careful so that it folds nicely. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tape down this first piece here, okay? And so you're going to put some kind of adhesive on the back, but only on this side, only on half, okay? You don't want to stick it on this side because if you see that piece is not stuck to anything. So make sure you don't put any adhesive there. And if you need a guide, remember this is 4 1/4, so you don't want to put it past the 2 1/8 mark, okay? I personally used score tape only because I wanted it to be very secure, but you could use regular adhesive. You could also use liquid glass. I probably would have tried liquid glass, but I don't want to wait for it to dry, for the demo. Okay, so I'm going to put a few pieces of score tape here, down, and again, only on half of it, which I know is kind of three of these in a row is fine. But before we take off the backing on this last one, we'll make sure. But let's see. Yeah, so I'm definitely well within the 2 1/8, right? This is 1, 2, so I'm fine. But you can use liquid glass, you can use regular adhesive. If you use either one, if you use regular adhesive, let me know how it holds up. I just was afraid that it might not hold up. Okay, and again, I'm going to put this about 1 1/4 from the bottom, but it doesn't really matter. But I'm going to use the markings on my thing to guide me. And I put it right up against the edge, okay? So it's right up against the edge here. In fact, it's a little bit over the edge there. Okay. One option that you could do is, I've seen people put this piece underneath the trim piece here. So if you want the trim piece to be on the outside to make a clean edge, and then this underneath, you can do that too. I liked it where you could see this strip across it. Okay. If you don't know what I'm talking about, what I'm saying is you could put the piece down first and then put the trim over it so you don't see that part. Okay? And then you would only see this piece. It just depends on what you're trying to do. Okay, and now let's do this piece. And I'm going to put my score tape on this. And this one you don't have to worry about it because you know how big the square, or you know how far you can go on the adhesive. So I'm probably going to send these to my nephew, so I want to make sure that it will withstand their crazy opening and shutting. I'm sure they'll go crazy with it. Okay, so take this off. Now here's the part you have to be careful. What you want to do is you want to make sure that it's, I'm not allowing it to touch yet, but you want to have it all be closed, and then place this, okay, so that it lays nicely. You see how now this is laying nicely? You don't want this to end up someplace inside. Then it gets kind of bumpy and it won't close nicely. Okay, now all we have to do is decorate. And I am using the April months of the year. This is months of the year. It's not the stamp of the month, it's the months of the year. Like I said, they're doing one for each month. And you can see the Happy Easter I already stamped on here. But I used this basket of eggs for the front. For the basket of eggs from the front. And then I did the bunny for the inside. And then I also put eggs here, okay? And that's these two here. And this is one of those 2-layer stamps. So the first one is the solid color. And so you can see here I stamped with ballerina, I stamped with peacock, and I stamped with, I have canary. I don't have Sundance ink, so I use canary there. But you could do Sundance. And then you use the top piece, this stamp in Intense Black ink, to stamp on top to give the design. So then over each of those, I stamped the outline, so to speak. Okay? If you want a space to sign your card on the front here someplace, this would be my suggestion of like leaving this spot blank or putting little decoration on this spot, because then you can write on it, and you can write, love Aunt Maggie or whatever you're going to do, without having to worry about it, because you won't see that from the outside, right? It doesn't kind of disturb the aesthetics of the card at all. I chose not to do that. I wanted to put the eggs here, and then I'm just going to sign it on the back. Okay, but one thing that I thought was cute was that I put the bunny, you can see his ears stick up a little bit. I put them directly behind the Easter basket so that you can't really see the bunny from the front when it's closed. It's kind of a surprise that there's a bunny there, and then his eggs are kind of a cute surprise too. So I planned that out a little bit so that you can, you can see the bunny's ears. Or you don't see the bunny's ears. Okay, so I've already stamped the Easter basket and colored them in. I used, let's see, for these, I have the colors. I used pale pink, I used blue turquoise and the light yellow blend for the eggs. And I used the coral blend for the bow, and then I used the tan blend for the basket itself. So those are the colors that I used, okay? And then I cut them out. So one thing, when you fussy cut them out, I'm not a huge fan of fussy cutting. And one of the reasons is because I'm not great at coloring the, getting it right up against the edges. But one thing that I did to mine that makes it look, I think, a little bit better is I took one of these finger daubers that we have. You can get this from Close to My Heart. And I used the Intense Black ink. And then I just got a little bit on here, and then I just went over the edge. So now it looks like that, right, the outline of the stamp. And then I'm okay with that, right? Maybe it's the OCD in me, but I don't mind fussy cutting like that. See, it makes it look a little bit better. And you see there's a little piece in the corner that's really hard to get to with these finger daubers. I just take a black marker, and I would dab that in. So I would get that last little bit. Okay? Okay, so let's put the bunny on. I have the bunny here already. So with him, I used the same color. I used the pink and the yellow, and I did use the orange blend for the center of the flower, and I used the dull green for the leaf. And then one thing I did on here was, I don't know if you can tell, but his little tail, I put the liquid pearls on, and this is white opal liquid pearl, so I kind of gave him a little fuzzy tail. Okay, so when you put this down, just make sure you don't put adhesive on the ears, because those, you can, because it's going to be against the card, but one of the things is that this is there's 2 layers of card stock and then the base layer, and it would be a little bit bumpy, if you know what I'm saying, because when you tape it down, this part's going to be taped to 2 layers, this part's to 1 layer, and then this part's to the base layer. So I would just maybe leave it off of there, and I'm just going to use regular adhesive for this, because I'm not worried about this getting pulled on. And then, kind of placing him, I put his whole head down and placing it so that I know where I'm going to put that basket. There. Okay. And then the eggs, let's see. I have a pink one, I have a peacock one, and then I have one of the yellow ones. Okay. So I'll do it the same. I'm just going to adhere these down. I adhered this right to the card. Adhered this one down. And on this card, I did pop this up a little bit. I'm not going to do it for here, but I did put this pink one on a pop dot. But now I'm just gonna tape it down because I want to get to the other card. Okay, so there you go. Now all we have to do is put the basket on the front. And the reason I did that last was because I wanted to be able to cover this up. And this one you definitely don't want to put adhesive on the basket part or anything that hangs over. You just want to do it on the part that's going to be on the card. Okay, so I'm going to put it here to cover the ears a little bit. There we go. Put that on crooked. Okay, there we go. I kind of like it with the peacock. I made it different so that my nephews don't have the same exact card. There you go. Look how fun that is. And again, I'm going to sign on the back. If you wanted to sign on the front, you could put it here. You know, maybe not put all of the eggs there or put any eggs there. Okay? Any questions? So you're going to use the regular dot adhesive. I'm sure it's probably fine. I just was being, you know, crazy. Yeah, okay, let me put a link to the this stamp set. So I made, you know, I made this Easter version. Okay, I dropped a link to the stamp set. Okay, but I know not everybody celebrates Easter, so I wanted to do another spring version in case you don't celebrate Easter. So you can see that it still works. So I made this one. And this is April Showers, Bring May Flowers. So these are all from this stamp set too. So I used the umbrella and the ducky. So the umbrella's here, and then the little ducky. And then I used these rain clouds for April showers. So the rain clouds are here. And then on the inside brings the May flowers. So these are the flowers. And that's down here. And we'll talk about this here when we get to that. Okay? And then we'll also talk about the April showers bring May flowers is here. I had a little bit of a design pivot in the middle of making this card. I thought, oh, I'm going to break up this April showers bring May flowers to put on each of these things. But I had already stamped the April showers here. And I didn't want to have to redo all of this because all of that was already attached. So when I do it again, I'm going to put it down here so they're all in one line. So, and this is from the Blossom pack, Bring Back My Blossom pack. So it's a little bit different paper pack. Okay, so let's do this again. I've got my base card, and again, this is 5.5 by 8.5. And I'm going to score it at 2 1/8 and 4 1/4. So I'm going to go a little bit faster this time since I've already done it once. Okay, so 4 1/4 and 2 1/8. Because there's some things I want to show you about this card. And I want to use the dark side, so I'm going to fold it in half here. And then fold this back. Okay. You know what? This is hanging off, and that's going to bother me, so I'm going to cut that off. I don't know why. It's like my cutters. I don't know if my cutter's off or it could be user error. I readily admit that. So I'm just going to trim this little piece right here off. There we go. See, so now it's even with the end. On this cutter, it's real easy to put the scoring blade in versus the cutting blade. And actually, you can keep them, you can put them both on. It's only a problem if you try to do something that's a 12 by 12. Okay, and then let's do the other piece, the 2 by 8.5. So I used this one, and I'm going to score it 4 1/4 by, and then 2 1/8. Oh, I wonder if I did 2 1/4 on that one. Let me see. no, I did 2 1/8. It's the cutter. Okay, and then make sure you fold this the right way. So this one folds down, and then this one folds back. Okay. Now let's do the trim pieces. This piece is 4 by 5 1/4, and then these pieces are 1 7/8 by 5 1/4 again. So let's just take these down. I like photo squares personally, but you can use whatever adhesive. Okay. This paper, you know, like I said, it's from the Blossom set, and I really loved it, but I felt it had kind of a spring, April showers kind of feel to it. And I didn't want to, you know, the Daisy Meadows is very kind of Easter themed, so I wanted to do something a little bit more springy. Okay. And then I'm just going to put the design pieces or the trim pieces on this here. And again, these ones are, let's see, 1 3/4 by 4 and 1 3/4 by 1 7/8. I am going to stamp on this before I put them on there though, or before I put this on the card. Okay, I'll put it on here, but then I'll stamp it before I put it on. Okay, and I'm using the dark side. This is Nectarine, this color. And speaking of the colors, if you haven't got in on the Cardstock Carnival special, you want to do that now because it's only good until March 31st, where you can get up to 30% off of our cardstock. So you can have all these great colors. You know, so far I've used, for the solids, I used that Peacock, I used the Sundance, and now I'm using the Nectarine. So really great colors, and they're on sale up to 30% off. So, okay, so I'm going to stamp. These pieces are all attached on top, but the April Showers Bring May Flowers I stamped on there. And if you look on the stamp set, it is one long stamp. And I'm going to, okay, this is the correct way. I'm going to lay it down on my pad here, so that it can kind of relax in its natural position, and then put my stamp block on top. Okay, so now I separated these. Okay, so what I did is I masked off the parts that I didn't want each time. Okay, so I just used I have this little thing of Post-its that I got at the teacher convention. You know, a lot of times they give out all those little freebie things or whatever. So I covered it up. So all I have showing, I don't know if you can see, is the April Showers. And there are flowers on either side of that. So I left the flowers showing. And I'm going to stamp it on the bottom part here. So I'm just going to ink this up, and you can see I'm not inking up that part of my card, or my stamp, so that doesn't have any ink on it. If you're concerned about getting it on the rest of your card, you can even just put a piece of scrap paper here. Okay? So So I'm going to do that with the scrap paper and then stamp down here. You could put the foam pad underneath it, but there's 2 layers of cardstock there, so I think it should be okay. So hopefully this will stamp okay. Okay, April Showers, perfect. Now let's wipe this off. And I will tell you, when you do this, you might want to stamp on your scratch paper once you do that, so it doesn't get the little watermarks on the rest of your card. And I learned that the hard way. Okay, now the bring. So the bring, you can leave the flowers on both sides if you want, which is, I did do that. I left both sides, the flowers on both sides. So I'll mask off on either side of that, just using this Post-its. And then inked up. Okay, take off this. And then you can, just check to make sure you didn't get that on anything. Then I'm going to cover up this side. And I'm going to try and center this. Just stamp down there. You could have put another scratch piece on this side. Okay. So April Showers, Bring, and now Mayflowers. I did this, and you can put the flowers on both sides of Mayflowers, but it doesn't quite fit. So I'm only going to do the flowers on this side, on the right side. Okay. Because you'll see it kind of went off the paper a little bit when I did my sample. Okay. Now this one, let me make sure. Okay, Mayflowers is over here. And I'm going to mask off the flowers part. And just have Mayflowers and then the flower at the end. It kind of takes a little bit of extra time. I thought about stamping the whole thing and then cutting the paper, but it doesn't quite match up that way. That would be good. If you had something that worked, that might be good, but it doesn't work with these. Okay. Do the Mayflowers there. There you go. Not too bad. I'm happy with that. Okay. I did the same thing, the same masking with the flowers here. So if you look at the flower stamp, let's look at the flower stamp. If you look at this flower stamp, it is a solid color. I mean, it's just a solid, one solid stamp. You can't color it in, right? Because when you ink it up, that's what's going to show. So I did the same thing, and I masked off the leaves, and I inked it up with the green, and then I masked off the flower, and I inked it up with the yellow. And the oranges are just dots with the marker. So I only did the yellow and the green. So I did some more here. I used green apple. This is green apple and canary. Okay, so again, I did the masking, just the masking technique on that. Okay, so let's put these on here. I'm going to put this on here first. So we do the same thing. And I'm going to tape this side up. I should have just tried the regular adhesive to see how that goes. I feel like I'm cutting the paper here. There we go. Okay, another one. And then one more. Okay. Take off the backing. This backing is a little bit hard. There we go. Wasn't cooperating. Okay. Okay, and I put it about, like I said, 1.25 inches there. Okay. Now let's put adhesive on this side. Yeah, these spring cards are fun, and I'm starting to see some tulips, not the flowers yet, but I'm seeing the little tips of the green stalks coming up. So we should have some spring some spring flowers pretty soon. Hopefully we don't have too many of the showers. What's it like where you are? Do you have these flowers showing up yet, or? Okay, and again, I'm going to carefully close this and make sure that my thing is shut nicely. Okay. Okay, there we go. Look, see, I did exactly what I told you not to do, because it's not going to open up completely. You see how it's not opening up completely? And I would move this, but that score tape is pretty good. But it's okay. It's not a big deal. So let's put the flowers on. And if you can see on these ones, I stuck them up a little bit, only because they didn't fit once I put the the flowers. So I'm going to only adhere kind of the bottom part. Okay, so let's get some adhesive here. Get the leaves down. And I would put them as far up as you can without covering the Mayflowers part. Okay. Oh, I didn't want to do that. That's not what I wanted to do. Oh, that's okay. On the bottom piece, it's not that big of a deal because you can do the whole flower. It's really the next one that you don't want to do the top. So make sure I don't do that. I'm going to put my finger there so I don't do that. Okay. Okay, now here, this is what I did for these ones, because again, I wanted to try and hide the flowers on this one like I hid the bunny. So what I did is I kind of put it on top of this one and I shut it like that so that it would be at the same spot. And then there should be one more flower. Okay, here's the other flower. Okay. Okay, and then I'll do that for over here. Kind of put him where I want it to be and shut it there. Okay. Oh, you have flooding, Kim? Are you okay? Are you out of the flood zone? Oh no, that doesn't sound good. Okay, I'm going to put the ducky and the umbrella and glue him up. I did make him kind of go up into the blue here, like over this part. And then the little ducky, he's so cute. And I colored these in with this is the light yellow and the orange tri-blend markers for both of those. Okay, and now I'm just going to add the clouds. And so on the clouds, what I did for this one is, if you see the rain cloud, you'll see that the raindrops will be stamped in black, or they will be stamped in whatever color you do. Like I could have probably done this whole thing in maybe blue, but I added some liquid pearls to be like raindrops there. Okay. So that just adds a little bit of dimension and some shine. And I'm going to do that on this one here. And And I did pop it up on this one, but I'm just going to put it down for it. And the reason I'm doing that is because there is some ink on the back, because I obviously turned this over and re-stamped it. And I don't want that to show, because you can see the back of that card. I mean, not very much, but you could technically see it. So, and the reason I put this up there is because I found that when I just had the cloud here, it was kind of, you know, blah up there. So I added another rain cloud. And again, I'm going to place this so that it covers the flowered tops. And so I'm only going to put adhesive on the bottom part and put them here to cover it. Okay, there we go. And so now you kind of cover the flowers. So it's a surprise. April showers and then bring May flowers. And you can, again, leave this blank if you wanted to sign. If you wanted to sign on that, you could. Okay, well, there's the 2 cards for today. And I did pretty good timing on that. Wasn't too bad. Here's the stamp set. Again, this is the April months of the year stamp set. And so you see it had some Easter. It also had some spring. I did think about doing the rainbow. You know, if you try it, whatever, you know, maybe use the rainbow. Because I thought about putting that up there somewhere by the raindrops. I could have probably put the rainbow here and then had the cloud with the raindrops down. I don't know. But I tried to use as many pieces as I could from there. And then I also tried, like I said, I tried to make an Easter one, but if you don't celebrate Easter, you still can use the stamp set because you can do a spring card. Okay, any questions before I hop off? Next week, I'm going to do the Picture My Life cards from the special that's going on. And I'll show you about it, but I made layouts. So I made some layouts. Here's one of the layouts using, these are the Picture My Life cards. And then here's another layout using the Picture My Life cards. And this is using the lovely paper and Picture My Life card collection. So this is what we're going to do next week. We're gonna do these, some layouts with the Picture My Life cards. I know in the past I've done I made cards with them, but with the Serenity. But I'm going to make layouts this time. A couple things I just want to remind you about: the Cardstock Carnival. The single packs are 15% discount. The bundles where they put the different colors together, this is a 20% discount. And if you get the whole big bundle, it's a 30% discount. I did do a video of an unboxing of my bundle so you can see all of the colors. Don't forget the In This Together, the coronavirus set. There's the product bundle. There's the workshop bundle, and I did these layouts yesterday. I am going to be doing a video showing these layouts. But these are only available until the end of March. And then there's also the album workshop. So you can make a 6x8 album. I did make this album. It's not finished yet though. Okay, Pocket Card Perfection. This is what I'm doing next week. The Pocket Card Perfection. You can get the Picture My Life cards from the Lovely collection or the Picture My Life cards from the Birthday collection. So I'm going to make layouts from these. And then the last special that ends this month is the sort of the cut above kits. There's the Every Little Thing cut above kit and the Hawthorne cut above kit. So those are the specials that are going to end in March. Yeah, it was really fun. So let's see, I made 6 layouts, and I still have 6 2-page layouts, and I still have Picture My Life cards. And that's just from the Lovely collection. I dropped a link to the cutting guide for these, so that you can have the cutting guide. Well, thank you for joining me this week. I hope it was fun. These are really fun cards. There's a lot of design potential for these. So I can't wait to see your versions of these. So please post if you do make these. Please post it in my group. Thanks for joining. I'll see you next week. Bye.